We can't come. Mum's probably fine. Natalie's throwing this birthday party and we can't just abandon our guests. Those were the exact words my son Ryan said to Dr. Harrison when he was told I was dying. Literally dying. My heart had stopped twice in the ambulance, and my 44-year-old son chose his wife's appetizers over his mother's life. I'm lying here in this sterile hospital room at St. Michael's Medical Center, hooked up to machines that keep my heart beating. The rhythmic beeping is the only proof I'm still alive. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm completely alone. My sons are just 20 miles away, toasting with champagne while I stare at this cold white ceiling. The smell of antiseptic burns my nostrils, mixing with the metallic taste in my mouth from the emergency surgery. My hands tremble every time I try to move them. But it's not just the medication. It's the rage. Pure, undiluted rage coursing through my veins like poison. "Mrs. Carter, please try to rest," whispers Rachel, the night shift nurse. She's young, maybe 28, with compassionate eyes I haven't seen in my own family for years. Dr. Harrison said staying calm is crucial right now. Calm? How can I be calm when I've just discovered that to my children, I matter less than a birthday party? Dr. Harrison's words from 2 hours ago still echo in my mind like hammer blows. He told me everything about the phone calls, every devastating detail. I explicitly told them this could be your last night, Eleanor. The heart attack was massive. 3 cardiac arrests during transport. I said they needed to come immediately, and Ryan's response: "Doctor, she can't wait until tomorrow?" Natalie organized everything weeks ago. All the guests are already here. My mum's strong. She always recovers from everything. I've always recovered from everything. That phrase keeps playing in my head like a broken record. Yes, I recovered when their father Thomas abandoned us 23 years ago, leaving me with 2 teenage boys and crushing debt. I recovered when I worked 3 jobs to put them through private university, cleaning offices before dawn, waitressing during the day, and alterations at night until my fingers bled. I recovered when I sold my house, that charming blue cottage in Brookside Heights where they grew up, to help Ryan with his down payment. It's temporary, Mum. I'll pay you back in 2 years. That was 7 years ago. I'm still waiting. I recovered when I handed over my life savings, $30,000 I'd scraped together over decades to save Ethan's failing electronics business. It's a sure thing, Mum. 6 months, and I'll pay you back with interest. The business collapsed in 3 months. The money vanished like smoke. I recovered when Natalie told me at Christmas dinner, in front of everyone, that my burgundy dress was inappropriate for my age, and I should dress more appropriately. I smiled and changed the subject. I recovered when Vanessa decided my Sunday dinners were too much trouble and suggested we order takeout instead. I pretended it didn't hurt. But this is different. This time it's not about lost money or swallowed pride. This time it's about something I can't recover from. The knowledge that when it truly mattered, when my life hung by a thread, they chose a party. They chose mini quiches and champagne flutes over their dying mother. "Mrs. Carter, you were technically dead for almost 5 minutes," Dr. Harrison had explained in his grave voice. "The paramedics brought you back, but it was close. Very close. You're lucky to be here. 5 minutes dead. And my sons were worried about not ruining Natalie's pink and gold decorations. The door to my room stays closed. No frantic calls in the 6 hours since I woke up. No text messages. Just the constant beeping of machines and the echo of their words. We can't come. Natalie's throwing a party. Rachel checks my vitals every hour. Your blood pressure is elevated. she says with genuine concern. Are you thinking about something stressful? If only she knew. I'm thinking about 68 years of unconditional love thrown away for birthday cake and balloons. Through the hospital window, I can see the city lights twinkling in the darkness. Somewhere out there, in one of those lit windows, my sons are laughing with guests, probably cutting into an expensive cake, while I lie here wondering if each heartbeat might be my last. Something inside me is breaking, and it's not my heart. That's already broken. It's something deeper. It's the last thread of hope I had that maybe, just maybe, I still mattered to someone in this world. Tomorrow they'll call. I'm certain of it. They'll show up with grocery store flowers and rehearsed excuses. They'll say they didn't understand how serious it was, that they thought I was exaggerating, like when I fractured my wrist last year and it took them 4 days to visit. But tonight has shown me exactly where I stand on their priority list, and that place is very, very low. As I close my eyes, trying to escape into sleep, I make a silent promise to myself. This is the last time Eleanor Carter begs for scraps of attention from children who see her as an obligation. The last time. Rachel dims the lights. Try to rest, Mrs. Carter. Tomorrow is a new day. She has no idea how right she is. What happens when Eleanor's sons finally show up? Will their excuses be enough? Or has something changed forever in that hospital room? Keep reading to find out. I can't sleep. My mind keeps drifting back 40 years, and I can't stop it. Maybe I don't want to. Ryan was 3, and Ethan was just born when we lived in that cramped 2-bedroom apartment in Brookside Heights. The walls were so thin, I could hear our neighbours' conversations word for word. Thomas worked at the manufacturing plant then, and I stayed home with the boys. I remember the smell of baby powder and the sound of their giggles when I bathed them in that second-hand plastic tub we'd bought at a yard sale. Ryan was always clingy. Mommy, Mommy, all day long, following me on his chubby little legs. Ethan was more independent, but when he got sick, he became my shadow, asking me to sing the lullaby my mother had taught me. Everything for my children, I told myself as I sewed alterations until 3 a.m. to sell at the weekend market. Every extra dollar went to their needs. New shoes when they outgrew the old ones, school supplies, Ryan's soccer fees, Ethan's guitar lessons. I wore the same grey coat for 3 winters, but they were always dressed impeccably. The first crack appeared when Ryan turned 26. He'd met Natalie at his corporate job, a calculating woman with a perfect smile and manicured nails that never chipped. The first time he brought her to dinner, she surveyed my apartment like a health inspector examining a condemned building. Eleanor, she said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, don't you think it would be better if Ryan and I spent Christmas at my parents' place this year? My family has very specific traditions, and my mother has a certain way of doing things. That Christmas, I ate alone for the first time in 26 years. The turkey I'd bought sat untouched in my refrigerator for a week, a monument to my rejection. When I asked Ryan how dinner had been, he said, "It was incredible, Mom." Natalie's parents' house is like something from a magazine. And the food. Her mum really knows how to cook. As if my 30 years of cooking for him meant nothing. Ethan followed the same path 2 years later. Vanessa was different from Natalie, more subtle in her manipulation. She didn't exclude me directly. She just made comments that accumulated like drops of water until they formed a pool of insecurity. "Oh, Eleanor, what a lovely red cardigan," she'd say with a condescending smile. "It's very retro, isn't it?" I always tell Ethan that women our age should update their wardrobes periodically, or when I prepared my famous lasagna, perfected over decades. "It's good, Eleanor. though a bit rich for my digestion. I prefer lighter, more contemporary cuisine. Ethan's gotten used to my cooking style now. Invitations to family dinners began spreading further apart. First it was, "Vanessa isn't feeling well, just something small." Then, "The kids have homework and need quiet." Finally, they simply stopped inviting me. Gloria, my neighbor of 20 years, told me bluntly one afternoon over coffee, "Eleanor, dear, your daughters-in-law are pushing you out of your sons' lives. It's the oldest story in the book. I've seen it 1,000 times." But I refused to believe it. "They're good women, Gloria. They just need time to adjust." Adjust? They've been married for 6 years, Eleanor. They've adjusted just fine. They've adjusted you right out of the picture. She was right, but admitting it felt like admitting failure. The hardest blow came 3 years ago when I sold my cottage to help Ryan. Natalie had found her dream house in an exclusive neighborhood, but they needed $95,000 for the down payment. "Mum?" Ryan said, with that voice he used as a child when he wanted something. "I know it's a huge ask, but this is our opportunity. It's an incredible investment. In 5 years, this house will double in value." I sold my blue cottage, the one where I'd raised my children, where their heights were marked on the kitchen doorframe, where they'd taken their first steps. I moved to a studio apartment in a building without an elevator, but they got their dream house. The first time I visited, Natalie greeted me at the door with a tense smile. "Eleanor, what a surprise. You should have called first. We're expecting friends for dinner." She didn't invite me in. I stood on the doorstep of the house I'd helped buy, feeling like a salesperson who'd arrived at the wrong time. "I just came to bring you this," I said, handing her a chocolate cake I'd made especially. Ryan's favorite since he was little. "Oh, how sweet. But we're trying to eat healthier." Ryan's watching his cholesterol. She held the cake like it was contaminated. That night, I cried myself to sleep. My son had cholesterol problems, and I'd found out by accident at the door of a house I'd helped purchase. With Ethan, the situation was different, but equally painful. He'd always been more direct. When his electronics import business started failing, he got straight to the point. "Mum, I need $30,000. It's to save the business. If I don't get it this week, I'll have to close and be in debt for years." It was everything I had. Every dollar saved from working before dawn. Every coin set aside from my pension over 12 years. "I'll lend it to you, sweetheart, but I need you to sign a promissory note. Not because I don't trust you, just to have everything documented." Vanessa was outraged. "A promissory note? Seriously, Eleanor? What kind of mother charges her own son interest?" I lent him the money without the note. "He's your son," I told myself. "He knows what that money means to you." The business folded in 3 months. My $30,000 evaporated along with years of sacrifice and dreams of a dignified retirement. "Mum, you know how business works," Ethan said. "Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose." At least I tried, as if my money had been casino chips instead of the result of decades of work. Now, connected to these machines in this sterile room, I understand that all those moments were preparing me for tonight. Tonight, when the mask finally fell and I could see the naked truth. To my children, I am disposable. The pain had started 3 days ago at Sunday lunch at Ryan's house. It was my 68th birthday, though no one seemed to remember. Natalie had prepared a light salad and grilled chicken, nothing like the celebrations I used to organize for them. "Mom, you look tired," Ethan said, picking at his food while scrolling his phone. "Are you sleeping okay?" The truth was, I hadn't slept properly in weeks. A strange pressure in my chest woke me every night at 3 a.m., like someone sitting on my ribs. But I didn't want to worry them. "I'm fine, honey. Just a little heartburn." Natalie laughed dryly. "At our age, the body doesn't process food the same way, Eleanor. I tell my mother she needs to eat lighter, less spice, less fat. A 68-year-old body isn't the same as a 30-year-old's. That afternoon, Vanessa arrived with news that broke my heart. Guess what? We finally got a date for my birthday party. This Wednesday, at Sterling Manor Ballroom. I've been planning it for months. Wednesday. My actual birthday had been Sunday, but no one mentioned it. On Wednesday, they'd celebrate Vanessa with all the pomp in the world. "It's going to be spectacular," Vanessa continued excitedly. "I hired the city's best caterers. Live music, themed decorations, and over 50 guests confirmed. Ethan bought me this gorgeous silver dress that cost $1,400. $1,400 for a dress. More than I spend on clothes in 3 years." "Mum, you're obviously invited," Ethan said, but his tone sounded like forced courtesy. "Though you know it's an elegant affair." Vanessa invited important people from her work. The message was clear. Come, but don't embarrass us. But Eleanor had no idea that Tuesday night would change everything forever. What happened in those desperate hours before Vanessa's party? The answer will shock you. Tuesday night, one day before Vanessa's grand celebration, the pressure in my chest became unbearable. My left arm ached with a deep, terrifying pain. Nausea doubled me over in bed. I called Ryan at 11 p.m. "Mum, what's wrong?" "We're watching a movie." "Ryan, I feel very sick. This chest pain won't go away." "Did you take anything? Maybe some chamomile tea? You've been stressed about Vanessa's party." "Look, we'll stop by tomorrow after the celebration." He hung up. Even my pain had to wait for my daughter-in-law's party to end. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. The pain spread to my jaw, my neck, my back. It felt like a giant steel band tightening around my chest. At 5 a.m., I called Gloria. "Eleanor, that doesn't sound good at all," she said after hearing my symptoms. "I'm coming over right now and taking you to the hospital." "No, Gloria, it's Wednesday. It's Vanessa's party. I don't want to ruin—" "Ruin what? You're describing textbook heart attack symptoms. Do you think a party is more important than your life?" It turns out it was. For my children, a party was more important than my life. Gloria found me at 6 a.m., sitting on the edge of my bed, sweating and struggling to breathe. "We're going to the hospital right now," she said, with the firmness only true friends have. In the taxi, the pain intensified until it was unbearable. It felt like a knife plunging into my chest and twisting slowly. I squeezed Gloria's hand with all my strength. "Hold on, Eleanor. We're almost there." In the emergency room at St. Michael's Medical Center, everything happened fast. The EKG showed alarming irregularities. My blood pressure was dangerously high. The cardiac enzymes confirmed what the doctors suspected. I was having a massive heart attack. "We need to operate immediately," Dr. Harrison said as they prepared the gurney. "Is there anyone we can call?" "Close family?" With a voice choked by pain and medication, I gave them my son's numbers. "Please tell them it's urgent. Tell them to come now." Gloria held my hand until they wheeled me to the operating room. "I'll stay here until you come out, Eleanor." "You're not alone." But I was alone. As they administered anesthesia, the last thing I thought about was my sons getting ready for a party while I fought for my life. Now, lying here at 3 a.m., staring at this ceiling. I understand everything with crystal clarity. And I've made a decision. The next morning, Thursday, 24 hours after Vanessa's party, my room phone finally rang. My heart raced so much, the monitor started beeping alarmingly. It was Ryan. "Mum, hi. We just heard you were in the hospital. Why didn't you tell us anything?" Blood rushed to my head. After everything, he had the audacity to ask why I hadn't told him. "Ryan," I said, in a voice I didn't recognize as my own, "Dr. Harrison called you Wednesday. He told you I was dying, that he needed you to come immediately." Awkward silence. "Oh, yeah. Well, Vanessa's party was really important, Mum. People came from far away. We couldn't just cancel everything. Besides, you've always been strong. We thought it could wait a few hours." A few hours. My life could wait a few hours. "Mum, don't be dramatic. You're fine now, right? The doctor said the surgery was successful. We'll stop by Sunday after lunch. Does that work?" Sunday. 3 days away. I hung up without saying goodbye. That afternoon, Ethan arrived with Vanessa. She looked radiant after her successful celebration, wearing gold earrings that matched her party dress. Her makeup was flawless. I had greasy hair, a stained hospital gown, and tubes coming out of my arms. "Mother-in-law, how are you?" "You gave us quite a scare," Vanessa said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. What bad timing that it happened on my party day, right? Bad timing. As if my heart attack had been an inconvenience specifically planned to ruin her celebration. "The party was incredible, Mum," Ethan said, sitting in the chair farthest from my bed. "You should have seen the decorations." Over 60 people came, including Vanessa's boss and several important clients. He was talking about decorations while I had been fighting for my life. "I had 3 cardiac arrests," I told them, watching their reactions. "I was clinically dead for 5 minutes." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Well, it's over now, Mum. The important thing is you're alive and recovering." Vanessa frowned. "Eleanor, it's not fair that you're making us feel guilty. We didn't know it was that serious. Besides, what could we have done at the hospital? We're not doctors. It was better for us to be where we could be useful, managing the party that cost so much money and effort." "Look, Mum," Ethan interrupted. "Vanessa and I talked, and we're going to help you more. We can visit once a week, maybe Sundays after lunch. And if you need something urgent, you can call us as long as it's not during work hours or when we have important commitments. Once a week. After lunch, if they didn't have important commitments." It was at that moment, looking at my youngest son talk to me as if I were a burden to be redistributed on his calendar, that something definitively broke inside me. "You know what?" I said in a strangely calm voice. "You're right. You shouldn't feel guilty." They both relaxed, thinking I understood their perspective. "You shouldn't feel guilty," I continued, "because to feel guilty, you need to have a conscience. And you clearly lost yours a long time ago." Vanessa's expression changed immediately. "Eleanor, there's no need to be rude. We came here to support you." "To support me?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You came to fulfill the minimum social obligation required to say you visited your sick mother." Ethan stood up, annoyed. "Mum, you're being unfair. We just explained why we couldn't come earlier. Vanessa's party was important for our future. We can't cancel our lives every time you have a health problem." "Every time I have a health problem." As if heart attacks were frequent colds I caught for attention. "You're right, son," I told him, feeling a strange calm wash over me. "You can't cancel your life." and I won't ask you to ever again." They stayed another 10 minutes, talking mainly between themselves about weekend plans, about a trip they were planning next month, about new furniture Vanessa wanted. I was just a silent spectator of their prosperous, busy lives. When they finally left with vague promises to return soon, I was alone with Rachel and the weight of a revelation that was transforming me completely. That night, I couldn't sleep. But it wasn't pain keeping me awake. It was mental clarity I hadn't had in years. For the first time in decades, I was seeing my life without the filter of unconditional motherly love. I sat up and asked Rachel for paper and a pen. "Are you writing letters, Mrs. Carter?" "Something like that. I need to organize my thoughts." I began to write, and the words flowed as if they'd been waiting years to escape. "Dear Ryan and Ethan, for 68 years, I have lived for you. Every decision I made, every sacrifice, every dream I abandoned was for your well-being and happiness. Today, lying in this hospital bed after being clinically dead for 5 minutes, I finally understand that you have not lived a single day thinking about mine. When your father abandoned us, I was 37 years old. I was young, attractive. I had suitors who wanted to build a life with me. But I chose to stay alone to dedicate myself completely to you. I sacrificed the possibility of partnership, of more children, of a complete love life, because you were my absolute priority. I worked 3 jobs for 8 years to pay for your private university. I sold my cottage to help you buy your dream house. I gave you my life savings when you needed them, and you lost it all without a second thought. But none of this matters now. What killed me wasn't the financial sacrifices. What killed me was discovering that when I was fighting for my life on an operating table, you were toasting with champagne at a party. The doctors told you this could be my last night, and you replied that you couldn't come because of appetizers and live music. That is why I have made a decision that will change our lives forever. I will not continue living as a mother begging for crumbs of attention from children who see me as a nuisance. When you read this letter, I will already be gone from your lives forever. Don't look for me. You won't find me. I have decided to start over in a place where no one knows my story. I am not making this decision out of anger, but out of self-love. The same love I gave you all these years, I will finally give to myself. This is my definitive goodbye. Be happy with your busy lives and your clear priorities. I will be happy without you. Cecilia Eleanor Carter, your mother, until today." I folded the letter and put it in the nightstand drawer. Tomorrow, I would give it to Gloria with specific instructions. For the first time in days, I fell asleep without crying. Eleanor has written her goodbye. But how will she disappear from a hospital? And where will she go? The escape plan is about to unfold. Friday morning, I woke with a feeling I hadn't experienced in decades, a mixture of nervousness and excitement. It was the feeling of taking control of my own life for the first time in years. Gloria arrived early, as she had every day since my operation. She brought homemade coffee and that warm smile that reminded me there were still people who genuinely cared. "Good morning, dear. You look different today, more peaceful." "Gloria, I need you to do me a very important favor, perhaps the most important I've ever asked." She sat down with a serious expression. "Tell me what you need, Eleanor." "You know you can count on me." I handed her the letter. "I need you to give this to my sons, but not now. Wait until Sunday afternoon after they visit me." Gloria took the envelope carefully, as if she knew it contained something life-changing. "What is this?" "My freedom. And I need your help with something else. I need you to help me disappear." Her eyes filled with concern. "Eleanor, what are you talking about? Are you thinking of harming yourself?" No, no, I interrupted, taking her hand. I'm talking about rebirth. I'm talking about starting a new life far from here, far from children who don't value me. I explained my plan. I had money they didn't know about. $25,000 I'd saved from my pension over the past 4 years, kept in an account at Heritage Savings Bank, solely in my name. After Ethan lost my previous savings, I'd learned to protect myself. I have a cousin in Austin, Texas, Faith. We haven't spoken in 6 years, but I know she lives alone in a big house. I'm going to call her. Gloria listened with a mixture of admiration and concern. But Eleanor, are you sure? This is a very big decision. I'm 68 years old, Gloria. If I live to 80, I have 12 years left. Am I going to waste them begging for attention from children who see me as an obligation? Or am I going to use them to finally live for myself? For the first time since I'd started explaining, Gloria smiled. You're right, dear. You have every right to be happy. And if they can't give you that happiness, you need to find it elsewhere. I need you to promise me something. When my children come looking for you after reading the letter, when they beg you to tell them where I am, you need to tell them you don't know, because you really won't know my exact address until I'm completely settled. Gloria nodded with determination. I promise, Eleanor. But you need to call me every week so I know you're safe. Of course. You're the only real family I have. We spent the morning planning details. Gloria would contact Rachel's sister, Amanda Brooks, a lawyer who would help with the power of attorney. I would call Faith from the hospital phone. Gloria had already withdrawn my money from the bank, $25,000 in cash, safely stored at her house. That afternoon, I called Faith. Eleanor? What a surprise. How are you, cousin? Faith, I need to tell you something important. I'm going through a very difficult situation with my sons, and I need to make a radical change. Is your invitation from years ago to visit you in Austin still open? She didn't hesitate. Of course, cousin. This house is too big for me alone, and I'd love the company. What's going on? My children are perfectly fine, I replied with bitterness I couldn't hide, so much so that they don't need their mother for anything. I'll tell you everything when I arrive, but I need to leave as soon as possible. Come whenever you want, Eleanor. You have a room waiting for you here for as long as you need. When I hung up, I felt like I'd just bought a ticket to freedom. Sunday arrived. I woke at 6 a.m. with anxiety and excitement churning my stomach. It was my last day being Ryan and Ethan's mother. Tomorrow, I would simply be Eleanor, a free woman starting a new life. Ryan and Ethan arrived at 2 p.m., exactly as promised. After lunch, of course. Vanessa came wearing a new coral dress. Natalie arrived 15 minutes later, apologizing because she'd had to finish an important work call. Mum, you look much better, Ryan said, sitting in the farthest chair. The doctor said you'll probably be discharged this week. And what are your plans when you leave? Natalie asked with her false smile. I hope you understand that with our work schedules, it's going to be difficult to visit very often. Actually, Ethan said, Vanessa and I were talking, and we thought it might be good for you to consider moving into one of those senior living facilities. You know, where there are 24-hour nurses and activities. A nursing home. They wanted to put me in a nursing home after abandoning me during my heart attack. There are some very nice ones, Vanessa continued excitedly. We visited one last weekend. Very clean, decent food, and not too expensive. About $2,200 a month. But with your pension and a small contribution from us, it's totally feasible. $2,200 a month, the same amount Vanessa's dress cost. Best of all, Ryan added, you'd be surrounded by people your age. You could make friends, play cards. Much better than being alone in that apartment. I remained silent, watching my sons plan my life as if I were a problem to solve. They weren't asking what I wanted. They were informing me what they'd decided. "And when were you planning to implement this?" I asked calmly. "Well, no rush," Ethan said. "Maybe in the next 2 or 3 months. That gives you time to adjust to the idea." "You know what?" I said, feeling a strange smile form. "I think you're right. I think I need to make a radical change in my life." They visibly relaxed, thinking I'd accepted their plan. "I'm glad you see it that way, Mum," Ryan said. They spent the next hour talking among themselves about the facility, their work, their vacation plans. I was just a silent spectator of the conversation about my own future. At 4 p.m., they began making farewell gestures. Natalie checked her watch repeatedly. Vanessa yawned exaggeratedly. "Well, Mum," Ryan said, standing up, "I think it's time to go." We have dinner with Natalie's parents. Each gave me a quick, obligatory kiss on the forehead. Vanessa actually wiped her lips afterward. "We'll call you this week," Ethan promised from the door. They left, leaving behind expensive perfume and empty promises. At 6 p.m., Gloria arrived with a small suitcase of clothes and my money. "Ready for your new life?" "More than ready." At 7 p.m., as the hospital corridors emptied for the night shift, Gloria and I put the plan into motion. Rachel came in exactly on time. Her shift ended at 8, and she'd agreed to help us leave without an official discharge record. "Mrs. Carter, are you ready?" "As ready as I've ever been for anything." I placed the letter on my pillow, clearly visible, a white envelope with my sons' names. So simple, yet it would destroy their comfortable world. "Remember, Gloria, wait until tomorrow afternoon to give them this. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'll go to Ryan's house and hand it over." We walked through the hospital corridors like normal visitors leaving after hours. Rachel had chosen this time perfectly. Enough movement so we wouldn't stand out, but not so much that anyone would pay attention. In the parking lot, Amanda Brooks was waiting. "Mrs. Carter, I'm Amanda Brooks, attorney. My sister explained your situation. What you're doing requires real courage." "Do you have the papers ready?" "Right here. This power of attorney gives Mrs. Patterson complete authority over your financial and legal affairs in this city. She can sell your belongings, cancel contracts, handle any issues." I signed everything under the parking lot lights, feeling that with each signature I moved further from my old life and closer to freedom. Gloria accompanied me to the bus terminal. The taxi ride was silent, each lost in thought. When we arrived, I bought a ticket on the night bus to Austin, departing at 10 p.m. "It's a 14-hour trip," the clerk explained. "Arrives tomorrow at noon." Perfect. By the time my children received the letter, I'd be 800 miles away. "Eleanor," Gloria said as we waited, "I'm very proud of you. Not many women your age have the courage to start over." "I'm not starting from scratch, Gloria. I'm starting with 68 years of experience, $25,000 in my pocket, and the certainty that I deserve better than crumbs." When my bus was announced, we hugged like the sisters we'd become. "Take care of yourself, dear, and call me as soon as you arrive." "I'll call every week." "You're the only real family I have left." I boarded with my small suitcase and heart full of emotion I hadn't felt in years. Not happiness exactly, but something deeper. Recovered dignity. I found my window seat, and as the bus pulled away from the city where I'd lived my entire life, I took out my phone for one last message. Ryan and Ethan, by the time you read this, I will be far away. In my hospital bed, you'll find a letter that explains everything. Don't look for me. This is my final decision. Be happy with your busy lives and clear priorities. I will be happy without you. Eleanor, I sent it and immediately turned off my phone. I didn't want to read their desperate replies, their manipulation attempts, their last-minute pleas. The bus continued along the night road, taking me mile by mile away from a life of unrecognized sacrifices and toward a life of new possibilities. At 2 a.m., when most passengers were sleeping, I remained awake thinking about everything I'd left behind and everything that awaited me. I felt no sadness, no guilt. I felt hope. Eleanor is heading toward freedom, but what awaits her in Austin? And how will her sons react when they discover she's vanished? The final chapter of Eleanor's transformation begins now. I arrived in Austin at noon on Monday, exactly as planned. The sun shone with an intensity I hadn't seen in years, as if even the weather was celebrating my new life. My cousin Faith was waiting at the terminal with a smile that immediately reminded me of my mother. "Eleanor, what joy to see you," she said, hugging me with a warmth my own children hadn't given me in years. "You look tired from the trip, but there's something different in your eyes, like you left a very heavy burden somewhere along the way." That's exactly right, Faith. I left 40 years of burden 800 miles from here. During the ride to her house, Faith told me about life in Austin, the farmers' markets where I could buy fresh vegetables for pennies, the parks where women our age gathered every morning to exercise and socialize, dance classes for seniors, part-time job opportunities. Here, no one will judge you for starting over at 68, Eleanor. This city is full of rebirth stories. Her house was exactly as she'd described. Large, full of light, with a backyard where roses and jasmine filled the air with fragrance. My room had a window overlooking the garden and a bed with white sheets that smelled of lavender. This will be your home for as long as you need, cousin. And if you decide to stay forever, it will be an honor. That afternoon, while Faith prepared a homemade meal that reminded me of my childhood, I received the call I'd been waiting for. Gloria. "Eleanor, I just delivered the letter. It was exactly as you imagined. Tell me everything, Gloria." I arrived at Ryan's house at 5 p.m. They were having a quiet family dinner. When I said I had a letter from you, Natalie rolled her eyes and said, "It's probably another one of her dramatizations." But when Ryan started reading, his face went completely pale. He read it aloud, and everyone fell silent. When he finished, Vanessa screamed, "This can't be real! Mothers don't abandon their children." And Ethan started dialing your phone desperately. "And what did you tell them?" "Exactly what you asked. That I didn't know where you were. That you'd only asked me to deliver the letter." Ryan became furious, yelling that it was impossible I didn't know anything. But I stood firm. "How did they look when you left?" "Devastated, Eleanor." But it wasn't sadness I saw. It was panic. The panic of realizing they'd lost something forever, and that it was their own fault. That night, lying in my new bed in my new city, with jasmine's scent floating through the window, I received dozens of missed calls and text messages. I didn't answer any, but I read them all. "Mum, please call us. We can talk about this." "Ryan, Eleanor, this is ridiculous. Mothers can't just disappear." "Natalie, Mom, I understand you're upset, but this is extreme. Come back and we'll fix everything." "Ethan, mother-in-law, I think you're overreacting. We love you. We just have busy lives." Vanessa, the messages continued for days, becoming progressively more desperate, more pleading, more aware of what they'd lost. Mum, I went to the hospital and your bed was empty. The doctor said you left without being discharged. This is dangerous for your health. Ryan, please, Mum. At least let us know you're okay. We're very worried. Ethan, Eleanor, we've been thinking, and you're right about many things. We can change. Come back, please. Natalie. But it was too late for changes. They'd had 40 years to change, 40 years to value me, 40 years to show me my life mattered. I wasn't giving them a second chance. 3 weeks after arriving in Austin, I'd already established a routine that filled me with peace I hadn't known in decades. I woke early to walk in the park with a group of women who welcomed me like a lifelong friend. I found a part-time job at Lavender Lane Boutique, assisting ladies who appreciated my experience and good taste. In the afternoons, I took painting classes at Harmony Community Centre, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for because I was too busy sacrificing myself for my children. You look 10 years younger, Eleanor, Faith told me one afternoon as we painted together in the garden. It's incredible what freedom can do for a woman. She was right. I felt reborn. A month later, I met Mr. Wellington at dance class. He was a 72-year-old widower, retired, with kind eyes and an easy laugh. There was nothing romantic between us, but it was nice to have the company of a man who treated me with respect and admiration. Eleanor, he told me one afternoon after dancing, I don't know what brought you to Austin, but I hope it was something good, because your arrival has definitely been something good for all of us. My son's messages gradually decreased, from desperate to pleading, from pleading to angry, from angry to resigned. The last message I'd received a week ago. Mum, if this is what you really want, we respect it. We just want to know you're okay and happy. We've realized many things since you left, and you're right about everything you said. We hope someday you can forgive us. Ryan, forgive them? Maybe someday. But I would never forget, and I would definitely never go back to being the mother who begged for crumbs of attention. If you're enjoying this story, and it's touching your heart, please hit that like button and consider sending a super thanks to support more stories like this. Your support means everything and helps me continue creating content that matters. Thank you so much in advance. 6 months after my arrival in Austin, as I had coffee in the garden on a sunny morning, I reflected on everything I'd gained by losing my children. I'd gained dignity, self-respect, genuine friendships, new experiences, and the possibility of living my remaining years as I wanted to live them, not as others expected me to live them. My phone rang. Gloria with her weekly call. How are you, dear? You sound happier every time. I'm better than ever, Gloria. Yesterday, I enrolled in a literature course at the community college. Imagine, at 68 years old, I'm going to study something I always loved but could never do because I was too busy raising children who didn't value me. It makes me so happy to hear you like that, Eleanor. And them? Have you heard anything? I see them occasionally posting photos on social media. They continue with their busy lives, their important parties, their urgent commitments. The difference is that now I don't have to pretend I care. That night, as I wrote in the journal I'd started keeping, I reflected on the bravest decision of my life. It hadn't been easy. There had been moments of loneliness, moments where I missed the illusion of having a family that loved me, but those moments were becoming less frequent, replaced by the deep satisfaction of finally living for myself. Dear Journal, today I turned 69. It's the first birthday I celebrate without expecting my sons to call, without feeling disappointed by their indifference. Faith organized a small party with our friends from the park, and for the first time in decades, I felt genuinely loved and valued. This is the life I deserve. This is the life I should have always had. I closed the journal and looked out the window at the moonlit garden. Tomorrow would be another day of my new life, another day of freedom, another day of simply being Eleanor. Not the abandoned mother, not the sacrificed woman. Just a complete woman living on her own terms. And for the first time in 40 years, that was more than enough. What about you? What would you do in Eleanor's shoes? Would you have left? Or would you have given your children another chance? I'd really love to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the comments below. I'm always curious to know what you think. And let me know, where did you hear this story? What resonated with you the most? If you want to hear more powerful life stories like Eleanor's, stories about courage, transformation, and finding yourself again, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. There are many more waiting for you, stories that will make you think, feel, and maybe even change your perspective on life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Eleanor's journey. Your time and attention mean the world. Big hugs, and see you in the next story.